Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mysteries of the Past podcast. I'm Jonathan Roy, and I'm here with
Aiden Harris.
and
Lulu.
and today we're going to be talking about Ted Kaczynski, or otherwise known as the Unabomber. And I'll sum it up real quick. Basically, the Unabomber is he was a guy born in Minnesota. Now that's already horrifying, but anyways, what happened was he was a guy who, of course, bombed people, and he's named the Unabomber because he would mainly send his bombs to universities and airlines with packages. And he would bomb these people because he believed that technology was ruining the human race and it was making everybody lazier, and eventually it was gonna ruin humankind. So, and he was a very big nature lover, right? And he lived in a cabin in Minnesota, and I believe it was Minnesota. And then eventually he lived there for like a long while, and then slowly as the days went by. There was a bunch of construction companies who started like mowing down all the trees in the little forest, and then that just sparked his hatred for tech, and then he was like, man, this is they destroyed the only thing I actually loved, and then he started basically bombing these people, he would send packages with bombs, uh, and just like bomb all these big like tech and industrial guys. And yeah.
Yeah, so I think hold on, let me do this. So I think what I've seen is he's from Chicago, but he was captured in Minnesota. Yeah. Theodore John Kaczynski, born May 22nd, 1942 in Chicago, Illinois.
Hmm.
He died June 10th, 2023. So
Yeah, he died of like cancer or something.
yeah, it's very recent where he just passed away. But yeah, like you said, he is known for doing some crazy things. Like you said, mailing people bombs,
Yeah.
creating all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, you know how he could build all this stuff?
Go ahead, you share
Yeah.
with me.
He basically he was a very smart dude, and by age 10, he took like an IQ test, and he had an IQ of around like 167 to 170.
Wow.
IQ isn't the biggest like factor of like intelligence, even though a lot of people think it is. Uh, but he got into Harvard at like age 16, and then he was just he's a very smart dude, and he just had all this he had all this all these resources around him, and he learned a lot of stuff, and he was just this big math dude, and
Right.
and also with that he had a little bit of engineering knowledge, and by the way, this actually he actually solved uh, a very decently known equation that was like very complicated, and people thought you couldn't solve it or whatever. I forgot what it was, but it was something boring. But it was like you like people thought it was like impossible, but he solved it because he was smart like that. But anyways, and then of course then he started bombing people.
Yeah. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia
Hmm.
by a federal physician, Dr. Sally Johnson. Um, and like you said, he started having just issues with things in the world, and he wasn't happy. So he was like, I'm gonna start putting these bombs together,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna start sending these packages out. And so yeah, it was like a bunch of craziness.
Yeah. Yeah. And the cool thing was I don't know if it's really cool per se, but they they had like no clue of who was sending these basically terrorist weapons, or whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
And they had no clue of who was sending them, and and yeah, it was just people just getting blown up, and then blown up and blown up and blown up, and then eventually like a person died, and then after that like two more people died, and they had no clue of who was doing it, and all they had was there's this one like I think it was like a jewelry shop owner, and he was bombed or whatever, but and and then after that, some dude saw the possible suspect, and all they had after that was a sketch of the dude. And besides that, they had nothing else. They had no evidence as to who it was. They just had a sketch of the dude. And then actually after that sketch, he laid off for a long while.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find any information about the cabin?
No, other than I think it was in Minnesota.
It was, well, it seems like, I'm pretty sure it was in Montana, actually.
Did we say Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was
I
one
wanna
of
say
those.
that.
No.
No,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. In Lincoln, Montana.
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry to all the Montanians I offended.
Yeah.
All two of them.
It says he was arrested on April 3rd in 1996 at his remote cabin out there. And then it says the cabin was seized as evidence and moved to an FBI storage facility. And later it was reconstructed at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I think after they grabbed his cabin, they started selling all the stuff off. And I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was kind of like, you're studying the cabin, but you're going to then take it all apart and move it. Like, you just contaminated it like crazy.
Yeah.
So I was surprised to see that that he had just recently passed.
Yeah.
To me, I remember hearing about this stuff when I was a kid, and like just seeing that he just recently passed, I was like, man, like I was kind of shocked by that.
Yeah.
A lot of the cases that we've been talking about and going over, these guys have been gone for a long time. So
Yeah.
that was just and obviously, he was incarcerated when he passed, but it still just kind of took me by surprise to see that he was still breathing as much as just 2 years ago.
Yeah, when he was arrested, he was on 23 hours a day lockdown, and he only had 1 hour outside of his cell every day. I was like, man.
Yeah. Did you hear that it was his brother that actually turned him in?
Yeah.
Recognized his, like, writing style, I guess.
Yeah, because he had a manifesto on why tech is so bad, and how it's making everyone lazier, and then he was threatening that he would keep bombing if news stations didn't air this out, and then once they aired it out, his brother saw a bunch of his writing styles, such as when he would say the common saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
He said it differently. He either said like, you can't eat your cake or have it too. Something weird like that, Like, what a monster. Anyways. And then so it was just small stuff like that the brother read, and then he was like, wait a minute. I remember, my brother would, write like that, and if he's bombing people, I gotta, turn him in.
Yeah. I read that David Kaczynski, he received a $1 million award for reward for turning in his brother.
Yeah.
But then he actually donated the money that he received for capturing his brother. So I thought that was pretty cool,
Yeah.
Because I'm like, bro, I mean, obviously, he did the right thing for turning in his brother because his brother was doing some crazy, just whacked out, uncalled for stuff that he was doing. But, it's like, how do you even accept the reward?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, by the way, here's $1 million for turning in your brother.
And by the way, we're probably gonna tax that too. Anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Couldn't imagine taxing that thing. Don't they like take half nowadays?
I wouldn't doubt it, bro. They're like, yeah, this reward is gonna come with a 1099.
I heard someone talking about how they had like some money their grandma had or whatever, and they already taxed that money when she made it, and then when he was inheriting it, they taxed they taxed him getting it on money they already taxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's That's insane.
Yeah.
I read that there was a total of 16 bombs that were delivered between 1978 and 1995,
Yeah.
killing a total of 3 people and injuring 23 others. Some of these cases, May 25th, 1978, a passerby found a package addressed and stamped in a parking lot at the University of Illinois' Chicago Circle campus. The package was returned to the person listed on the return address at Northwestern University, who was Professor Buckley Christ Jr. He did not recognize the package and called campus security. The package exploded upon opening and injured the security officers. So that is one of the, that's the very first case that of the victims of the Unabomber. Then we also have May 9th, 1979. A graduate student at Northwestern University is injured when he opened a box that looked like a present. It had been left in a room used by graduate students. November 15th, 1979, American Airlines Flight 444 flying from Chicago to Washington, D.C., fills with smoke after a bomb detonates in the luggage compartment. The plane did land safely since the bomb didn't work as it was supposed to, but several passengers suffered from smoke inhalation. So yeah, I mean, there's like I said, this goes all the way to 1995. April 24th, a mailed bomb kills the president of California Forestry Association in his Sacramento office.
Man.
That's pretty crazy, right? Like, you definitely have to be bugged out in the mind to just start putting together bombs, which, I mean, I guess it's more engineering, but I mean, you're still using physical components and things like that. I guess you can't really consider bomb making tech, or would you?
I mean, it has a battery, I believe, and
Well, technically, you could probably make one without using like technology.
Right. That's it's more engineering, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I think the more modern bombs are made with like Taco Bell or whatever. I don't know. And,
It's like a grenade. I wouldn't call that. I don't know. That probably isn't technology. Cause like, I don't know, you just pull a pin
Right.
and like I'm pretty sure it's like the reaction of them, either the two different components like hitting or combining is what causes it.
Yeah. Then again, technology is people have used the word technology for ages, no matter electrical or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just use it to describe anything. Really, like I believe a lot of people, call swords technology. It's like, man, you crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I was gonna say, the fact that he's using tech, but stopping before I made that statement, I was like, I guess you're right. It's not really technology, and I could see why. Like living in the modern day that we're in now, and seeing the way technology. Like, I was born in the '80s. I was born in 1986, so I've lived throughout time where I got to see like the transition, right? Like, I got to see us going from, metal cars that'll burn that crap out of your legs because the seats are so hot. Or even like touching the door handle, you know what I mean? To open it, you like burn your hand because it's so hot. To seeing how technology has actually, played its role. Like, I was alive when they invented the internet. I was alive before the internet was invented. So, I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, when I was a kid, you had to go outside and play,
Yeah.
right? And my over the summer, my dad would be gone at work, my mom would be gone at work, so they would send me and my brother over to my aunt's house, and my aunt, she like watched all the nieces and nephews because she worked nights. So all the brothers and sisters would send their kids to my aunt's house, and we would all be there. But she would kick us out of the house. Like she would be like, "You guys are being too loud. I gotta sleep. I gotta get up for tonight, or I gotta get up tonight to go to work. So you guys are kicked out." And usually she would give us $1 each, and we would go to the swimming pool, and it was 50 cents to get in, right? And if you left, you had to like pay to get back in. So she gave us 50 cents to go when the pool opened, and we got to go in, and then we would be there till lunchtime. Then we would leave. We got to go to my aunt's, got to eat lunch, and then she would kick us back out. She'd be like, "Here's another 50 cents. Now you go back to the pool, and you hang out there all day."
Yeah.
So, you know, I was born in that era where you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have computers, and if you had a computer, it was like this massive form of technology
Yeah.
that was, sitting inside the house, and it had a black screen and green letters and little dots, and it was crazy. So I could definitely see how technology um, has, and I wouldn't say it made us lazier. I would say it made us more efficient. But I could see how someone from that time would be like, "Oh my gosh, the world is just gonna be destroyed by all this technology," and
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, especially since he didn't really like people, so that's why he was living out in nature in the first place. And I can see you know in the thing I was reading, he was talking about how there's like what's one of those like construction cars or whatever that like just mows down everything it sees. I forgot what it's called, but
A
anyway,
bulldozer,
something like that. I think
excavator.
uh, maybe, but
No.
anyways, it was just I can imagine if you had this like thing that you love so much, which is to him like nature, and then you just see it's all gone, and then all you see is just this big piece
Steamroller.
of tech or whatever. I forgot what it's called. I'm not a construction nerd. But
I think it would be somewhere along the lines of maybe like either a bulldozer or is that are you sure that's not what it
I
is?
have no idea.
Bulldozer has like the big shovel on the front.
Yeah, it's got the bucket on it, but it can clear out space like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, but yeah, I can imagine seeing something like that and just destroys everything you love, and then it's like you can imagine that what will happen if there's more than just one bulldozer or whatever, steamroller, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And then so that I can see why he's like, oh man, we gotta uh, tech would destroy this and that. Uh, but I don't agree with we gotta bomb everyone.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Like I said, you got to be pretty whacked out in the mind to come to that conclusion. And like I said, I get the maybe the fear and the panic per se. Like we live in our times, and you know we're seeing a shift right now, right? We're seeing AI hitting the scene, like just taking everything over from you know burger joints to Lyft drivers. You know what I mean, and everything in between. Have you guys seen? Um, have you guys seen like the little robot waiters?
No.
No.
So I have a friend of mine. His daughter is she's getting ready to go to Arizona State University, and he was telling me that he took his daughter to the campus to like go like tour the campus and all that good stuff, and like look at like the dorms and all that. And he said that they went to the mess hall to get some food, and that at the mess hall they were like, "Oh no, we don't do that no more. Like basically, you go back to your room and you order the food, and it'll be brought to you." So he was like, "What?" So he said that him and his daughter went back to like the dorm area, like the little lounge area in the dorm rooms, where they had put their order in, and he said, sure enough, he was like about 20 minutes later, man, he was like a robot came rolling in with our order, and he was like, it was just the strangest thing ever. So, seeing, and my point in all that is like just talking about how everything is shifting, and a lot of people today are like, I don't know if I'm okay with all this, AI stuff is taking over everything. I don't want some machine making my burger or, things like that. So, I can definitely see why, um, coming from that era,
Yeah.
why someone would be like, hey man, if we build these computers, oh my gosh, the world's gonna end.
Yeah, especially if
Robot
now,
uprising.
especially
Right.
if the robots nowadays had start leaking oil in the food when they get mad at you.
Right.
He didn't give me an oil tip. We're gonna.
We're gonna put a little extra petroleum in there.
We're gonna give up cancer right now. I saw a
That's
video of a
They
dude.
don't get normal food.
Yeah, I saw a video of a dude trying to do like an oil change or whatever, and he was trying to get like views on Instagram, and he just full on put like full on oil in his mouth, and then I saw one of the comments said, "Was cancer worth it?" I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
feel like I've seen one like
Yeah.
that where he just like a little in his mouth, he swirls around, spits it out,
Yeah,
and it's
bro.
clear. I mean, probably not oil, but yeah.
Yeah. Forgot what I was gonna talk about besides all that. Tech talk and nature talk.
It's honestly kind of surprising that the internet hasn't been around for. It's been around for like less than 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, like I said, I'm 38. I'll be 39 this year. And like I said, when I was a kid, the internet wasn't even around yet.
Yeah.
I think the internet came, like 90, like right around, when did the internet come in? I think it was
I
like,
think it was 19.
I know it was early
or something.
90s. I think it was like 93, 94 when the internet, maybe even a little later than that. Let me check, because I know,
What if this is the 30th anniversary?
when was the internet? Oh, geez. My gosh. So the government has had the internet since 1983.
Hmm.
Yeah, it says the internet as we know it
About
today,
42 years.
with its core technology of TCP/IP, officially came into begin on January 1st, 1983. So let me see.
So less than
say-
50 years?
Yeah.
42 years old.
Okay, so the World Wide Web, which made the internet accessible to the public, was released um, under the domain by CERN. Excuse me, I said that completely wrong. I jumped lines there. The World Wide Web, which made the internet accessible to the public, was released into the public domain by CERN on April 30th, 1993.
My birthday.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh, so you got your birthday coming up soon here then, huh?
Yeah.
Happy early birthday. But yeah, so that's why I say when I was a kid, I remember I was in school, and I think I was maybe like fourth grade, third grade, somewhere around there. And I remember the teacher coming in and was like telling us about the web, and I remember even I bring this story up because I remember the teacher saying, "Oh, this is changing everything, and there's no going back." And I remember even like hearing like there was the teachers' lounge was like really close to the cafeteria in the school that I went to, and I remember like going by and like hearing the teachers talking in the because like the way our lunchroom was set up was like the line would go out of the actual lunchroom and it would be like down the hallway. So you would be like standing by the door of the teacher's lounge. So I remember hearing a couple times teachers talking about things like, oh, you know, technology is going to do this and technology is going to do that. So that's why I'm saying like referencing that story because of this individual who's like, you know, tech is going to change the world and we got to start sending bombs to people because we're not happy about it.
Yeah,
We're
there's
not
been
gonna bomb the tech. We're just gonna bomb people.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
there's honestly been too many people to count who's, they have, intentions that, a lot of people agree with, but it's just like that, they don't agree with the killing of them, because like, it takes one person to, have, a certain view, a lot of other people that'll, agree with, but it takes another type of person to just like kill them because they don't do what you want.
There might be like a lot of people who feel that way, but like no one's really willing to go that extreme.
Yeah.
Unless you're a diagnosed schizophrenic.
Yeah. A lot of those kids have been diagnosed with schizophrenics.
Yeah, he like you were saying, he received a bachelor's degree from Harvard.
Yeah, mathematics, I think, right?
Yeah. And he got a PhD in theoretical mathematics from the University of Michigan. So, like you said, dude was super smart, man.
Yeah.
And just because he was crazy in the mind, missing some screws, didn't mean that he didn't have any knowledge and understanding. And so, yeah, it's just it's crazy to see how, well, not crazy, but it's somebody who obviously he's like a productive person in society. You know what I mean? He's got credentials, he's got the education and all these things, right? He's helping shape minds of individuals, so it just blows my mind sometimes to think that, somebody so intelligent would go that low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you kill anyone for $2? What are we talking about that?
Would you kill someone for $1 million?
Some people ought to do it for. Actually, no, I'd do $1 million because I don't want to go to jail for just nothing.
I honestly wouldn't, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth losing. It's not worth losing your soul for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, what do you say, Lulu? Would you do something crazy like that for $1 million?
I mean, who knows? It's $1 million.
I mean, you're definitely gonna have some fun for a little while until you get caught.
Yeah.
In this day and age, though, $1 million is like 100.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's more like 50 because taxes.
Yeah, right. And with the new tariffs, it's like
You get $1.
So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be doing it for that little amount. I was reading. It says on January 22nd, 1998. After an extensive legal jockeying to avoid both the death penalty and an insanity defense, Mr. Kosniak pleaded guilty and acknowledged all 16 bombings.
Kosniak?
Yeah. Did I say that right?
What?
Oh, excuse me. Kaczynski.
Okay.
Kaczynski. I don't know why I said that.
You think of Steve Wozniak?
Yeah. So yeah, Kaczynski, excuse me, Mr. Kaczynski
Kaczynski.
pleaded guilty and acknowledged all 16 bombings and the deaths and injuries that they caused. He
Yeah.
was unrepresented, so he was representing himself.
Yeah. Did you hear that? He was trying to get lawyers on, but they were all like, "Go, you should say you're insane," and then he's like, "No, that would undermine everything I've said," and it worked for. And then he just decided to not go with a lawyer.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yep, represented himself, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms, plus
even live that
30
long?
years.
Why do they do it like that?
A life term is like
Why do they
25
do
years, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like
Yeah, so when
hey,
you get sentenced to life, you're not actually in there for your entire life. They're just saying like technically like I don't know exactly how to break it down, but yeah, a life sentence is only 25 years. Which I think that's odd, right?
well, was it like
Why not just
that's how long you lived back
like
then?
I guess 100 years?
Right. Yeah, you're probably right. Back then, I think the average life expectancy was like the early 50s, 60s. You know what I mean? Like they didn't live very long back then, and I think it's mostly because a lot of people back then were heavy chain smokers.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you went, everybody was smoking. So even if you wasn't a smoker, you was still smoking because you was inhaling
Yeah.
all that secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
So,
So what, they're like, if you survive past this, you're free to go.
pretty much. I mean, but in this case, they gave him 4 consecutive life terms, and then it
So
says
100
plus
years.
30 years. So I'm like,
how do they decide to do the plus 30s? Just because he lose the first 100?
that's I'm like, so
150.
How do they calculate this?
yeah, he's like 25, 25, 25, 25, 30.
Do they like do like a dice roll or something?
Okay,
They're like,
let's
you
see.
spent 4 consecutive 25-year terms. Now we're going to give you a 30-year term. We're going to add 5 years to that.
Okay, let's see how long. 66 life sentences.
We let the dice decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's man, that guy, he was on some next level stuff. That's what I would say. He died at 81 years old in prison.
Wow.
What do you think of prisons for people who like kill people? Do you think we should kill them off, or that they should just be in prison, and like give them food and housing and shelter after they kill a lot of people?
What do you think, Lulu?
I think it definitely just depends on the killer itself. If it's not like a super, I know they're all bad, but like if the person at the end is like less insane, they're like all better or whatever, then okay, maybe we can give them another chance, but on like supervision watch.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're like really bad, then it maybe not.
Okay. What do you think, Aiden?
I have no clue. Like, you shouldn't kill people in the first place. But like, I don't know. Well, like, prison gives them time to think about what they've done, maybe, and like, or like maybe prison for a few years if they actually like are remorseful and like all that, then they would be able to go on parole or just stay in prison instead of just getting the death sentence. But yeah, I don't know.
What do you think, Jonathan?
It really, then again, it depends on a lot of stuff. I believe, a lot of the people who've like go on mass killings, it's like, honestly, there's a line where, there's a line that I don't really know where the line is, but eventually it's just you're basically, what's a polite word? You're just, there's a point where you just become like human trash. You know what I'm saying? There's a point where it's like it doesn't. benefit society anymore. To keep you alive. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a line of that, and then again, it's very tough. Even if they kill one person, then it's very tough. I saw a Reddit story. Of course, peak information. I saw a Reddit story of some guy who was he said, I went to jail and turned to Christianity or whatever religion, and then that there were commentators trying to check in on him, and then apparently they found out who he was, and he found he killed another person after he got out of jail. And I was like, so much for all that religious stuff.
I think it should be left to the family of the victims, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being left to a jury of your peers, of just some random people who don't know you, and they're just gonna listen to the story, and then the burden have to be placed on them.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like if you were, for instance, if you're Ted Kaczynski and you're already at the end of your spree and you've killed 16 people, or excuse me, not killed 16 people, but you've hurt a total of 16 people, killed a few others, right? I think that, and I could be wrong. I think it might have been a little bit more. I think it was total of 16 incidences, right?
And then 23 victims.
Right, that were
3
injured.
were killed.
Right. So if you've wronged, right, this amount of people, whether they died or whether because I'm pretty sure some of those people are dealing with some life altering situations that they're dealing with now because of a bomb going off on them. I think that the family should be able to say, we want this type of justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the court then can say, based off of what the family has said, they want the death penalty, right? So you're going to be put to death, or even though you've done all these things and they feel you deserve this, they've decided that they'll let you go with life in prison, right?
Yeah.
So I think it should just be up to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, as the family member, can you make that decision? And the reason why I say that is because to the family is, I believe a family member, even though they might be like in the heat of the moment, right? Because they may have lost a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if somebody was gonna be like, yeah, I want that person to be unalived, right? For that's TikTok terminology. I want them to be unalived for whatever it is that they did, because of those emotions and those feelings that are within them. I think that would be the only way that a death penalty, could be like a legitimate feeling that somebody was feeling, as opposed to like, you go sit in front of a group of your peers that they don't know you, you know what I mean? And like, to them, they're more neutral, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna be like, yeah, I don't know these people, it's unfortunate, but to have to make the decision to say this person has to die for what they've done, I think that would be a more suitable claim for the family members to be like, you know what, you took this person from us, so you're gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything else we want to add real quick? Actually, I got some real quick. Have y'all ever heard of these, famous murders, and then when they find the suspect like 100 years later, then like, or 50 years later, I mean, they're gonna be like, oh, we're not gonna reveal who the suspect is in order to protect the family of the suspect. It's like, what about the victim? What about the victim's family? What about them? Everyone knows who they are.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're gonna do it in respect of the killer's family. It's like, what? Okay.
Yeah, and it sucks because family members of these people who are doing this stuff, they're not guilty.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. I mean, unless they're like conspiring with the person to commit the acts that they're doing, then sure. But you know, so I understand why we want to conceal the identity of family members, right? Because you know their lives are gonna be changed, right? And the everyday interactions that they have with people, just from knowledge, right? Somebody knowing what somebody did, right? You might look at somebody different if you're like, hey, you know, that's the brother of freaking Ted right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mr. Ted.
like don't go ahead, don't go to his house. You know what I mean? Like, you better check your car. Don't open no packages. You know what
Craziness
I mean?
might run in the family.
Right. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Why it might be a good thing to conceal the family members of these people who do crazy things. But like you said, at the same time, you know, it's collateral damage. You
Yeah.
know, if anything were to happen. So
Yeah. Anything else we want to add? No? Well, I guess it's going to wrap it up for this episode of Mission of the Past podcast. Thank you for watching this video if you have all the way through. And thank you. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.